Hello and welcome to a new episode of Airport CEO, where we will continue our refurbishment of Terminal 1 and we will be adding more airlines later in the episode. Before we get started, if you end up enjoying this video, then don't forget to smash the like button, and if you're new around here, you're always welcome to hit subscribe. Now we need to do a few things here with the refurbishment, and one of the first things we need to do is we need to delete most of our small stands that we have here. We might even end up deleting all of them, but yeah, we definitely need to delete the ones that we have here along the terminal side. And we of course also need to go into the terminal and start removing stuff there. Now in general, I would like to try to keep most of the infrastructure, so most of the buildings as they are. Of course, some things internally in the building will be changed. There will be a few small expansions, but really minor. The whole reason for that is, of course, that this is supposed to be a refurbishment, so we are not rebuilding completely the entire terminal building, but we will rely on what we already have and just try to improve on that and to try to fit in the stuff that we need to add into the existing infrastructure. I think that is the most realistic way of doing stuff if you were thinking about refurbishing a terminal. So that's what we will be doing today. But let's talk about a little bit more into detail what the plan is for the refurbishment. Now, the refurbishment will mainly focus around the area where we have the small stands. Pretty much exclusively, actually. Because where we have the medium stands, we won't change anything. But what I want to do is, one, remove all the small stands. Also removing all the boarding desks that are connected to those. We will entirely remove the section for the remote stands, so not just the remote stands themselves, but also all the gates we have over there with the buses and the service car stops. That includes also removing the tunnel that connects over to the service car stops. The reason, well, I will get into the reason why I want to remove the service car stops in just a second. I mean, one of them is obviously that we don't need them anymore, but we will also be using that space for something else. What we then will do is, when we have removed all the bus stops, is that we will actually expand the building a tiny little bit there, because that will be the area where we will add a few more baggage bays. Now, I don't think we really need much more than one, but we will actually end up adding 3, which is totally overkill. I am totally aware of that, but we will have, or we added last time, 3 new baggage belts. So that means 3 new baggage retrieval areas or rooms, and each of them will need a baggage bay. At least I believe so. I think you always need 1 baggage bay per retrieval room. But in any case, that's how we do it. It's a little bit overkill, as I say, but we could think of it as if the airport would be investing in infrastructure to be ready for future growth. So let's just say it like this, and it will just look nicer that way. And we will be using the space that we have a little bit more efficient, maybe the wrong word, but anyway, I guess you get the idea. Now, the reason why we remove, for example, the service car stops, other than of course that we don't need them anymore, is that I want to add something in that area. Now, originally, before we even added these service car stops there, I was thinking of having that space available so we could add a shop. Now that we don't need the service car stops anymore, we can remove them and then expand the building a little bit here. That will be pretty much the last expansion to that part of Terminal 1 that we will be doing, but that will allow us to add 2 shops in that area. Now, you might say, why do we need shops in that area? Well, that of course is because we will have the medium stands there, so there will be some passenger traffic going there, and shops are of course brilliant because they do allow us to make a lot of money. But let us get quickly back to the topic of the baggage bays, why I'm adding so many. Now, obviously it's too much for the current traffic, but we do also have the expansion of Terminal 1, which we were working on last time and in the last episode of Airport CEO, and there we will have 8 stands, 8 medium stands, so 8 aircraft will be able to be in at this terminal at the same time. And for them we need these baggage bays. Basically, we will have one of the new baggage bays for the new stands at Terminal 1, and then the 2 other ones will be serving the stands at the satellite of Terminal 1. So that's why we do it like that. Now, an ongoing task, of course, here at the airport is always keeping the airport running. For that, we, of course, need to always keep an eye out on the different operations we have, seeing that all the contracts with the shops are still active. If not, then we need to re-sign. And of course, we also need to make sure that our flight schedule, our flight planner is always up to date, and that we add flights that are coming in so that we don't run out of flights at some point. Now, one of the things we of course can do now as well, that we have removed the small stands, is that we can remove our generic airlines that come standard with the game. It's something I've talked about quite a lot in the past few episodes, that I really wanted to get rid of those. So that we only will have real life airlines here at the airport. Of course, I could have done it at any time, but then we wouldn't have any traffic coming in at the small stands. Now that we are removing the small stands in favor of medium stands in the refurbishing process of Terminal 1, it makes sense then to also get rid of these contracts with airlines that offer flights that would go into the small stands. The only small stands we will have left then will be for general aviation. Now, in order to have space for the new medium stands that we will have here along the terminal, we actually need to remove the complete taxiway system that we have here at this part of the airport. We will then simply rebuild it, but just moving it over a few blocks so that we have the space for the medium stands. Of course, as I mentioned, we will still have a few small stands, but only for general aviation, and we should be able to squeeze in a few at Terminal 1, but for sure we will have 4 of the small stands just above the new satellite of Terminal 1, because here we have a little bit of space between the satellite terminal building and the de-icing pads. I think that I don't think they will harm anyone being here. I don't think they will be interfering too much with the traffic here at the airport if they're placed there. So yeah, I think that's a decent compromise to have them there. Maybe we find a better place at the airport in the future, but for now they will be there. And then at the terminal building, yeah, we will have space for 2 small stands, but we will have to move the fuel depot here. And that is a Jet A1 fuel depot, and we have plenty of them at the airport, so even if we remove this one here, we won't have any issues with operations at the airport in general. Then it is time to place some boarding desks at our medium stands, at our new medium stands. Now, they will be on ground floor, so we won't have any jet bridges for these medium stands. And you might ask, well, why don't we do that since we are refurbishing? Why don't we then also add jet bridges? But I want to use the ground floor here at the building, and it is a refurbishment, and we don't have a first floor at this part of the terminal building. So if I would add jet bridges, we would actually have to construct a first floor. So I don't want to do that. So that is the reason why we will keep these gates as normal stands without jet bridges, because they will be on ground floor. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, we have now removed the service car parks, and therefore we have this lovely space where we will extend the building a little bit, and that is of course to add some shops. And I think I will manage to squeeze in 2 shops, because I don't want to make them too small. We could have loads of them in there, but we want to have them at a decent size, so we will make one shop, so one what's it called, I always forget what it is called, a franchise room, and we will have a food room. So I think that's a pretty decent thing to have at that part of the terminal. There might be a little bit oversized, considering that we only actually have 2 gates close to that, but on the other hand, I'd rather have a larger store where we can add, or where we can have more money coming in through the rent than having just a tiny little store where we don't really make much money. Now, while I connect up all the different check-in desks we have with the different baggage bays and make sure that all these things are connected up as they should, you might have the question, why are we not continuing on the satellite terminal that we started constructing in the last episode? Don't worry, of course we will be, but not in this episode. That will happen in the next episode of Airport CEO. The reason is simply because it still needs to be constructed, and it takes quite a long time, surprisingly, to have this all built. So that's why we are kind of doing it in multiple steps. The last episode we started the construction of the satellite terminal. This episode we are really focusing on the refurbishment of Terminal 1, and then the next episode we will finish it all up again. So yeah, the next step of course we need to do is we want to add more airlines, because we will have space for more airlines very shortly here at the airport. So let us take a look at what airlines are currently available to sign contracts with. Now let's see, what do we have? Flybe, I think that's a good one to have here at the airport. What else do we have? Forest Air, no, we just got rid of those, so we don't want them again. North Star, maybe. Aer Lingus. Aer Lingus is always nice. I don't think they have the new livery yet. Welling is also a very good one to have. Let's see, Aegean, for sure. Pretty much, yeah. Legacy carriers, Austrian Airlines, we haven't added those yet, so we need those as well. Transavia, they look quite nice in the game as well. Let's see, is there anything else we could add at the moment? British Airways, of course, because we only signed British Airways City Flyer, so we should also add the main British Airways line. That would be lovely to have. Let's see, June, I don't know, Norwegian we already have. Eurowings, I think Eurowings would be good. Yeah, Eurowings, and I think that should be it. Now, I know that I said that we won't really be doing anything at the satellite terminal in this episode, but one small thing I want to do in this episode already is just to add the boarding desks. Then that is done, they can be constructed. I will be leaving the game just running as soon as I finish this recording, so that all these things can be constructed, so that they're ready in the next episode, when we then will be really focusing on this part of the airport and trying to finish it up really. And then the last thing that we will be working on in today's episode is the baggage bay system. We can't finish it up now because it still needs to be constructed, and I don't want to interrupt the current line because we still have flights going in and out of Terminal 1, so we need those running. So we don't want to interrupt those, but we need to add a few more lines here and then ultimately replace them with some of the stuff we already have here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. If you have enjoyed the video, then don't forget to smash the like button, that really helps us out. If you're new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. And with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.